Good evening. An airman in the logistics group was court-martialed in a case held at Spangdahlem Friday. Airman First Class Colin Bode, a weapons loader from the Equipment Maintenance Squadron, received a bad conduct discharge, confinement for 135 days, and reduction to E1 following two separate altercations which left 3 victims in need of medical attention. Airman Bode pleaded guilty to assault charges under Article 128 of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. He has been held in pretrial confinement since the second attack on June 3rd. Sentencing is not final, pending approval from the convening authority, 52nd Fighter Wing Commander Brigadier General Scott Van Cleef. The 81st Fighter Squadron is divided into 3 sections: operations, maintenance, and command. For most of the last decade, they've been spread across the base in 4 different buildings. Staff Sergeant Jennifer Wessner tells us how the unit is now coming back together as operations move to Building 15.
They say home is where you hang your hat. Members of the 81st Fighter Squadron returning from Operation Allied Force last week are hanging their hats in a new place.
We had 2 buildings down by operations that were down by Hangar 3. Then we had 2 command buildings that were up by the wing command post, and we had our maintenance, which was behind the flight line secured area and further on up the hill. And so when we move, we'll end up with operations here and maintenance really just about out our back door. It makes it a much easier way to operate.
In addition to the sections being centrally located, the move brings more cause for celebration. It's also a move back home. The 81st occupied Building 15 10 years ago when they were flying F-4s. In 1994, they were scheduled to be deactivated. That same year, when the 53rd moved to Spangdahlem, they took over the building. Ironically, it was the 53rd that was eventually deactivated. The 81st stood strong and took over an A-10 mission. Their tenacity has paid off. After success in Operation Allied Force, they've come home to claim their old stomping grounds. Staff Sergeant Jennifer Wessner, Air Force News.
During Operation Allied Force, Team Eifel members found themselves working extra hours in various locations. Now that the NATO mission is over, it's time for a little celebration. In tonight's Focus on the Force, 52nd Fighter Wing Command Chief Master Sergeant Daniel Keene talks about a well-deserved victory parade later this week.
On the 23rd of July, beginning at 11:30 hours, we're going to have a 52nd Fighter Wing Victory Parade. The parade's going to begin at Base Supply, Building 103, and everyone's going to march right up Arnold Boulevard to the new pavilion area behind the bowling alley. It's going to be a huge parade. It'll be led by the wing commander, our base honor guard, and behind them we'll have hundreds of people from the different groups across the wing, and they'll have all sorts of equipment.
Following the parade, 52nd Fighter Wing Commander Brigadier General Scott Van Cleef will give his thoughts on the great job Team Eifel members did. Man and water, a friendship since the beginning of time, but many people lose their lives each year because they don't practice good water safety skills. Senior Airman J.C. Spiva gives some simple but all-important tips to help keep you safe as the Eifel 105.1 Days of Summer Survival continue.
For the summertime.
Take a public swimming pool, for instance. As safe and appealing as it looks, it poses many dangers to the swimmer. So now we'll take a minute to go over some simple safety tips to help keep you and your family safe. Most importantly, don't overestimate your swimming ability. Know your limits. Keep in mind some European swimming pools don't have a shallow end. If you're a good swimmer, you have nothing to worry about. But if your swimming ability isn't the best, look before you leap. What you think is the shallow end may be over your head. A life jacket might be a good idea. Okay, so you might not think it's cool to wear a life jacket to a public pool, but when it's your life we're talking about, it doesn't seem all that bad of an idea. Another important safety tip to keep in mind, don't dive in the shallow end. You might break your neck, and then your swimming days are over. Look for the designated diving area, and make sure someone is with you. And that brings up a good point. Use the buddy system. Swimming with a friend can make the difference between life and death. And a few other quick tips to keep in mind. When not in the pool, walk, don't run. And finally, alcohol and swimming don't mix. In other words, don't drink and drown. Following these simple safety tips is a sure way to keep you safe during the 105.1 Days of Summer Survival. Senior Airman J.C. Spiva, Air Force News.
And that's our report. Have a good evening. It's Eifel News Break. Man and water, a friendship since the beginning of time. But many people lose their lives each year because they don't practice good water safety skills. Senior Airman J.C. Spiva gives us some simple but all-important tips to help keep you safe as the Eifel 105.1 Days of Summer Survival continue.
No cure for the summertime blues.
Take a public swimming pool, for instance. As safe and appealing as it looks, it poses many dangers to the swimmer. So now we'll take a minute to go over some simple safety tips to help keep you and your family safe. Most importantly, don't overestimate your swimming ability. Know your limits. Keep in mind some European swimming pools don't have a shallow end. If you're a good swimmer, you have nothing to worry about. But if your swimming ability isn't the best, look before you leap. What you think is the shallow end may be over your head. A life jacket might be a good idea. Okay, so you might not think it's cool to wear a life jacket to a public pool, but when it's your life we're talking about, it doesn't seem all that bad of an idea. Another important safety tip to keep in mind, don't dive in the shallow end. You might break your neck, and then your swimming days are over. Look for the designated diving area, and make sure someone is with you. And that brings up a good point. Use the buddy system. Swimming with a friend can make the difference between life and death. A lot of swimming pools in Europe don't have lifeguards on duty to protect you, so always make sure someone is with you when you hit the water. And a few other quick tips to keep in mind: when not in the pool, walk, don't run. And finally, alcohol and swimming don't mix. In other words, don't drink and drown. Following these simple safety tips is a sure way to keep you safe during the 105.1 Days of Summer Survival. Senior Airman J.C. Spiva, Air Force News.
And that's News Break. Good evening. Late last week, members of Team Eifel met at the new pavilion in Eifel East to make plans for Friday's Mission Complete picnic and parade. Airman First Class Adam Winston tells us what we should expect.
All those chiefs.
With an event as large as this Friday's picnic and parade, members from various commands around the wing want to make sure it goes as smooth as possible. For most people coming to the festivities, the first thing that will be needed is a parking spot. Traffic will be organized by security.
Parking is going to be free parking, parking on the side of the road. Try not to block any fire lanes, emergency vehicle exits or entries at all, and just park cautiously. Don't block any open roads or drive-throughs.
The support group and civil engineering will be represented by about twice as many on-duty airmen as security, counting upwards to 100.
Overall, just have a good time. We're all set up. Anything that you need, let us know. We'll have the trash receptacle set up because that's one of our important things. But if you need anything else from us, power, working, of anything else, just let us know.
Of course, grills will be fired up and stages will be set in order to feed and entertain the large mass. The 52nd Services Squadron has this taken care of.
It's going to be a great event, and it's going to feature a lot of great food and a lot of great entertainment. We in services have coordinated that side of it, along with CE and COM and the cops and everybody else in the wing that's working so hard to put on this event. We're going to have the chiefs cooking all the food for us. Everybody needs to come out because we're going to have 5,000 hamburgers, 3,000 hot dogs. We're going to have as many metwurst and bratwurst. We're going to have all the typical picnic fixings, The entertainment, we've lined up 3 great bands. One local band called Stage Fright that you've seen at the Bash and you've seen here in the Wing at other times. It's made up of members from the Wing along with Germans from the local community. They play classic rock from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and also European music that you hear in the club scene here. That's our local band. They're called Stage Fright. We also have 2 bands from the United States, 2 USO tourists that are coming through.
Friday's Mission Complete parade and picnic cost the base an estimated $10,000, and representatives of the event are sure that the whole day will be a time of fun and fellowship for the whole base. Airman First Class Adam Winston, Air Force News.
As you've seen, there's a lot of excitement building for the 52nd Fighter Wing Victory Parade and Party, which kicks off in 3 days. According to 52nd Fighter Wing Command Chief Master Sergeant Daniel Keene, it's a time to reflect on great teamwork and a job well done.
Well, after we parade up to the new pavilion area, General Van Cleef will address the audience. It's a mandatory wing commander's call. The troops, if you're not in the parade, you do not have to be in uniform. Okay, it's civilian clothes. It's a place of duty for that day. And after he addresses the crowd, the picnic will be open. The picnic will have tons and tons of food, drink. We have 3 live bands. It's going to be huge.
There will also be some sporting opportunities with 1-pitch softball, horseshoes, volleyball, and a unit relay race. The Defense Reutilization and Marketing Office, or DRMO, is renovating some of its buildings in the Oberweis Annex. Eifel News went to the construction site to check out the progress. DRMO is upgrading 3 buildings. One is already finished, and the other 2 are still being worked on.
We're going to renovate our receiving and warehouse section, which is this building behind us. It'll be completely renovated, new roofs, walls, offices, floors, rack systems.
Building 1093 is one of the newly renovated facilities and is the temporary receiving and warehouse storage building. It will become the retail sales area once the other buildings are complete. Along with being a new place to store property, the entire administration section has also been upgraded. The new office area is a big improvement compared to how things used to be.
Sometimes no heat in the winter. We only had 1 restroom for both men and women. So now it's a lot bigger morale booster because we got nice facilities to come to work in. We have heat in the warehouses. Our women actually have their own restroom now, which is a big plus. And it's just an overall better place to work and better quality of life now with the new facilities.
He says the DRMO facilities had a reputation of looking a little shabby, but that's not the case anymore. The renovation should be completed by November. And that's our report. Have a good evening. It's Eifel Newsbreak. An airman in the logistics group was court-martialed in a case held at Spangdahlem Friday. Airman First Class Colin Bode, a weapons loader from the Equipment Maintenance Squadron, received a bad conduct discharge, confinement for 135 days, and reduction to E1 following 2 separate altercations which left 3 victims in need of medical attention. Airman Bode pleaded guilty to assault charges under Article 128 of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. He has been held in pretrial confinement since the second attack on June 3rd. Sentencing is not final, pending approval from the convening authority, 52nd Fighter Wing Commander, Brigadier General Scott Van Cleef. If you watch the movie Wing Commander, you may notice a few familiar faces. Now we'll take you behind the scenes and show you how Team Eifel members made it into the big screen. This isn't the type of aircraft you would normally see on Spangdahlem's flight line, but it was one of the many used in the movie Wing Commander. The $27 million science fiction movie was shot in Luxembourg, and people from the 52nd Fighter Wing made it into the spotlight as extras.
Or we like to come to the Air Force Base to recruit people because they, have that American look, they do speak English, and they're usually quite comfortable, being in front of the camera, so it's really a great help for us.
Tech Sergeant Philip Sprung is a munition system specialist in real life, but in Wing Commander, he played a Marine Guard defending Earth from the evil Kilrathi aliens.
It's actually exciting to know that you're going to be just maybe in the background, but you're going to be part of the movie, and you don't get this chance every day. It is actually fun once you get on the set and you get to see what's happening, and you learn a little bit about the Hollywood and the movie business.
Along with Team Eifel members, Freddie Prinze Jr. and Matt Lillard are also featured in the movie, which is now available on video. And that's Newsbreak. It's Eifel Newsbreak. There's a lot of excitement building for the 52nd Fighter Wing Victory Parade and Party, which kicks off tomorrow. According to 52nd Fighter Wing Command Chief Master Sergeant Daniel Keene, it's a time to reflect on great teamwork and a job well done.
Well, after we parade up to the new pavilion area, General Van Cleef will address the audience. It's a mandatory wing commander's call. The troops, if you're not in a parade, you do not have to be in uniform. Okay, it's civilian clothes. It's a place of duty for that day. And after he addresses the crowd, the picnic will be open. The picnic will have tons and tons of food, drink. We have 3 live bands. It's going to be huge.
There will also be some sporting opportunities at the picnic. The Defense Reutilization and Marketing Office, or DRMO, is renovating some of its buildings in the Oberweis Annex. Eifel News went to the construction site to check out the progress. DRMO is upgrading 3 buildings. One is already finished, and the other 2 are still being worked on.
We're going to renovate our receiving and warehouse section, which is this building behind us. It'll be completely renovated, new roofs, walls, offices, floors, rack systems.
Building 1093 is one of the newly renovated facilities and is the temporary receiving and warehouse storage building. It will become the retail sales area once the other buildings are complete. Along with being a new place to store property, the entire administration section has also been upgraded. The new office area is a big improvement compared to how things used to be.
Sometimes no heat in the winter. We only had 1 restroom for both men and women. So now it's a lot bigger morale booster because we got nice facilities to come to work in. We have heat in the warehouses. Our women actually have their own restroom now, which is a big plus. And it's just an overall better place to work and better quality of life now with the new facilities.
And that's Newsbreak. Good evening. You see base maps in the back of your phone book, but did you ever wonder where they came from? Airman First Class Joseph Furman took along his curiosity and set out to learn who makes the maps.
Driving around the perimeter road, you may have seen the nature trail, but you may not have noticed the new gazebo that was constructed as part of the nature trail project. But now, thanks to the Engineering Support Office, you'll be able to find it on the base map.
The job that we're doing today is taking the newly built nature trail and gazebo and tying it into known points on the base map.
Engineering Support surveys the base and plots everything on the base map using very sophisticated equipment.
The theodolite that we use, it's called a total station, which is actually, the theodolite is what we use to measure the angles. And then the total station part of it is when we add an electronic distance measuring device. And what it does, it shoots a laser beam out, hits the prism and comes back, and then we get the distances within, depending on how we set, we can go within 1,000th of a foot, which is more than enough than any survey that we have to do here.
After the survey crew finishes up with their laser rangefinder, they head back to the office to input the coordinates on the base map.
So we'll come back in, bring up the base map. We'll take our distances from a known point and actually draw them out using lines and angles to where the location of the gazebo is. And then again, using the measurements that we took, we'll go actually just put points and then connect the dots, and we have the gazebo.
Engineering Support surveyed the gazebo to add it to the base map, but also to plot it because of its close proximity to the flight line. They checked to make sure that nothing interferes with the flight path of aircraft. Airman First Class Joseph Furman, Air Force News.
This week's edition of the Air Force Online newspaper is out. Here are the highlights. The Air Force is helping in the search for more wreckage from the tragic plane crash that killed John F. Kennedy Jr., his wife, and sister-in-law. The confirmation hearing for Acting Secretary of the Air Force F. Whitten Peters started today as he testified before members of the Senate Armed Services Committee. Mr. Peters has served in his role as Acting Secretary since November 1997. The new enlisted quarterly assignment listing for overseas jobs will be out on the Air Force Personnel Center's website and military personnel flights August 9th. Assignments will be made in September. And in the commentary section, the Deputy Chief of Staff for Installations and Logistics, Lieutenant General John W. Handy, explains the Air Force's master plan for providing safe and adequate housing for our military families. We see them every day as they greet us coming on the base. They work around the clock to ensure our safety. Earlier this week, Airman First Class Adam Winston stopped at the Eifel West main gate to profile one of the guards.
A good day just goes by fast. That's how I constitute a good day. If it goes by fast, you have plenty of people to talk to. A busy night's a good night. Every once in a while, people try to get out of getting their car checked. They'll say we have to be here real quick, but if I ask them to, and that just makes me want to pull them over even more, and I'll take a longer time on their car. I'll do a very thorough check on their car, just because they try to do it and they gave me an attitude. Unless it's a serious emergency, a doctor trying to get to the hospital, something like that. Somebody just trying to get home because they're tired and want to go to bed. They have to work tomorrow at 8 in the morning or whatever. I'm not going to be any more courteous with them than I would be with anybody else. I'm polite, but yet I have to do my job. Hello. How you doing, sir? Good. Thank you. Have a good night. The wildest thing I had is just a totally plastered guy come through the gate, and he wasn't driving, but he ended up getting out and causing some ruckus, and he threw up everywhere. It was pretty nasty, but you have a good night. It's something we just deal with it. It's a normal occurrence, but it happens. To be courteous and help us out as much as possible. Make our job as easy as possible, and it'll go easy for you. Be polite, we'll be polite back. It's just common courtesy. That's all I ask for.
And finally, here are a few reminders about Friday's Victory Parade and Picnic. Arnold Boulevard closes at 10 so people can line the parade route. The picnic starts after the parade with remarks from 52nd Fighter Wing Commander Brigadier General Scott Van Cleef. There will not be a lot of seating at the picnic ground, so feel free to bring chairs and blankets. 52nd Fighter Wing Command Chief Master Sergeant Dan Keene reminds people that the day honors not just those who deployed, but the entire Team Eifel family who supported the Spangdahlem mission over the last few months. And that's our report. It's Eifel Newsbreak. We see them every day as they greet us coming on the base. They work around the clock to ensure our safety. Earlier this week, Airman First Class Adam Winston stopped at the Eifel West main gate to profile one of the guards.
A good day just goes by fast. That's how I constitute a good day. If it goes by fast, you have plenty of people to talk to. A busy night's a good night. Every once in a while, people try to get out of getting their car checked. They'll say we have to be here real quick, but if I ask them to, and that just makes me want to pull them over even more, and I'll take a longer time on their car. I'll do a very thorough check on their car, just because they try to do it and they gave me an attitude. Unless it's a serious emergency, a doctor trying to get to the hospital, something like that. Somebody just trying to get home because they're tired and want to go to bed. They have to work tomorrow at 8 in the morning or whatever. I'm not going to be any more courteous with them than I would be with anybody else. I'm polite, but yet I have to do my job. Hello. How you doing, sir? Good. Thank you. Have a good night. The wildest thing I had is just a totally plastered guy come through the gate, and he wasn't driving, but he ended up getting out and causing some ruckus, and he threw up everywhere. It was pretty nasty, but you have a good night. It's something we just deal with it. It's a normal occurrence, but it happens. To be courteous and help us out as much as possible. Make our job as easy as possible, and it'll go easy for you. Be polite, we'll be polite back. It's just common courtesy. That's all I ask for.
Another way to be courteous to the gate guards is to turn off your headlights when you approach the gate during hours of darkness. And that's Newsbreak. Good evening. With the completion of NATO missions during the Kosovo conflict, the 52nd Fighter Wing is planning a wing victory parade and celebration tomorrow. In tonight's Focus on the Force, 52nd Fighter Wing Command Chief Master Sergeant Daniel Keene talks about the outstanding job Team Eifel members performed during Operation Allied Force.
Everywhere I go, I see people just pumped up and just doing a great job, working hard, even here at home with the 9th Expeditionary Fighter Squadron and our own 22nd Fighter Squadron, flying missions right out of Spangdahlem straight to Serbia. I'm here to tell you we were effective in every way you could possibly imagine.
The Victory Parade begins tomorrow at 11:30 from Supply Building 103 and ends at the new base pavilion picnic area. After the parade, Team Eifel joins together for a celebration picnic. Chairs, blankets, and coolers are welcome. For some, retirement couldn't come fast enough. But for others, with Air Force downsizing and a smaller force, sometimes it's hard to part from the Air Force family. Airman First Class Melissa Allen tells us just how close the Air Force family really is.
There's around 350,000 Air Force members spread across the world. But doesn't it always seem like you're running into people you used to be stationed with, or someone who knows someone who you know? Well, it's a small world. Earlier this week, Tech Sergeant Joseph Hausneck and Tech Sergeant James Barron of the Logistics Group celebrated their retirement from the Air Force and illustrated just how small the Air Force is.
They both entered basic training together at Lackland Air Force Base on 26 September 1979. They went to technical training at the same time and now have retired together today. I think they even live in Landshut, but supposedly not together.
They took time to thank each other for their support during their combined over 40 years in service.
For the past 3 years, we've been talking about this day, looking forward to sharing this moment together. During those 3 years, many things have happened. Many times I just want my retirement papers signed and delivered with no ceremony. It's because of Joe's persistence that I'm able to make it through the trying times. Thanks, Joe, for keeping me straight.
Sergeant Hausneck will head back to the States, and congratulations on his upcoming marriage. And Sergeant Barron will stay in the area, enjoying Europe. Airman First Class Melissa Allen, Air Force News.
The quaint village of Priced was invaded this week by Team Eifel Cub Scouts. From designing and creating den flags to learning how to use a bow and arrow, all kinds of activities took place in the village sports plots and this year's Cub Scout Day Camp. Our own expert, Senior Airman J.C. Spiva, an Eagle Scout himself, visited the camp and gives us an inside look at some highly motivated Team Eifel youth scouting it up.
Helpful, brave, meeting friends, you make a lot of friends by having a buddy check. You take people that you don't know and people that you know and become real good friends together.
Scouting gives a lot of self-motivation, self-respect. We let the kids do the stuff. They learn how to take care of themselves. They learn what's right and what's wrong.
You get to miss school to go on camping trips.
What are you playing?
I was playing soccer, but now it's their turn. We're playing lots of games. Hey, give me them.
Making it for the big jump. Go for it.
Here comes the wild, 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 wild world. No, we are.
So we couldn't have done this without CE, without security forces, the hospital, and the leaders. We got some spouses out here, but we got a lot of active duty people that took their leave time to come out here and help out.
Coming from my troop because we do a lot of cool stuff.
Even though it's too late to sign up for this year's camp, there are many other scouting events happening throughout the year. If you're interested in getting your son or daughter involved in scouting, contact Mr. Blackwell at 065-6168-3385. That number again is 065-6168-3385. And that's our report. For all of us at Eifel Nightly News, have a good evening. Good evening. In 1998, AFIS received more than 500,000 bad checks worth over $56 million. Although much of this money can be collected, some must be written off. Airman First Class Derek Anglin reports on a new AFIS check verification procedure.
Beginning 15 July, the Corporate Customer Database, or CCD, will take effect. And what that is a verification procedure for all check writers.
As a part of the new check authorization process, AFIS verifies checks against the Corporate Customer Database, which works with the Defense Eligibility Enrollment Reporting System, also known as DEERS.
The customer will notice no changes, with the exception of maybe the verification process. The cashier will now verify the ID card with the check and actually enter the Social Security number off of the check versus the ID card. Other than that, there's no noticeable differences for the customer.
If a customer is not in the database at the time of verification, they will need to provide another form of payment.
If they're not in the database, if they're active duty military or a family member of active duty military, they need to go to the military personnel facility and get updated into that system and find out why the problem is there.
Officials say this additional step in the check writing process should help combat check writing fraud. Airman First Class Derek Anglin, Air Force News.
The Extreme Summer program is still in full effect. Staff Sergeant Jennifer Wessner tells us about some upcoming events.
Extreme Summer.
Sports are the focus of this week's Extreme Summer activities. Youth Programs has a Sports and Olympic Day at the Bitburg High School field. Outdoor rec goes cave rappelling in Luxembourg. Both activities get you 50 points. Youth Sports holds sign up for soccer, football, and cheerleading until August 8th. Sign up and get 150 points. The Bowling Center will give you 150 points for bowling 3 games, and ITT has swimming and volleyball on the beaches of Nice. That trip departs Wednesday, and you can rack up 150 points. I'm Staff Sergeant Jennifer Wessner, and that's Extreme Summer this week.
As the Eifel 105.1 Days of Summer Survival reach the halfway point, we'll learn how Team Eifel's younger members are getting safety smart. Senior Airman Julianne Messer takes a look at the 2nd annual Eifel Safety Camp.
Volunteers from throughout the base met at Bitburg Middle School this week to raise children's awareness on an array of safety issues. Poison control, dangers around the house, and recreational hazards were just a few of the areas touched on during the 4-day camp aimed at 5 to 12-year-olds. 52nd Fighter Wing Ground Safety Technician, Technical Sergeant Scott Livingston, says this is the perfect age to form lifelong safety habits.
At this age, oh yeah, they're very, very impressionable. They pick up a lot of stuff. They're really, really attentive. And we got some great briefers out here doing a good job. A lot of people volunteering and really put a good effort for the kids out there.
Counselors used games, visual aids, and demonstrations to reinforce their lessons. This method went over well with campers eager to show off what they learned. Stephanie and Joanna had this to say on household safety.
If you see a skull with two bones over it, then don't drink it or eat it. Okay. And if it doesn't have a label on it, you should ask an adult or not don't mix it.
Cecile had some tips for boating enthusiasts.
There's a few things that you have to take with you to boat. One is a life jacket, extra paddle. If the motor runs out, you have to paddle to shore.
Taylor and Matt had one classic piece of advice.
And lock your door. Well, if it's your parents, don't.
With all these campers running around armed with their new knowledge, the rest of the summer promises to be safer for everyone. Senior Airman Julianne Messer, Air Force News.
If you're looking for something to do this weekend, you won't have to go far. The Village of Hereford has invited everyone to join in their annual festival. It runs Saturday to Monday and features a variety of entertainment from sports to music. And music is the theme this weekend. B.B. King, Johnny Winter, and Johnny Lang are the headliners at the Luxembourg Blues Circus Saturday. Classical music is the program at the Magic of a Summer Night concert in Crewe. The concert from the floating stage starts Saturday night at 9 o'clock. And the Zeltinger Himmelreich Open Air Operetta starts at 8:30 both Saturday and Sunday night in Zeltingen-Rachtisch. If you prefer classical sports to musical classics, there's an equestrian riding tournament in Bitburg-Merch Saturday and Sunday. Or try the weekend Bow and Arrow Festival in Earl, also on Saturday and Sunday. And that's our report. For all of us at Eifel Nightly News, have a great weekend. It's Eifel News Break. As the Eifel 105.1 Days of Summer Survival reach the halfway point, we'll learn how Team Eifel's younger members are getting safety smart. Senior Airman Julianne Messer takes a look at the second annual Eifel Safety Camp.
Volunteers from throughout the base met at Bitburg Middle School this week to raise children's awareness on an array of safety issues. Poison control, dangers around the house, and recreational hazards were just a few of the areas touched on during the 4-day camp aimed at 5 to 12-year-olds. 52nd Fighter Wing Ground Safety Technician, Technical Sergeant Scott Livingston, says this is the perfect age to form lifelong safety habits.
At this age, oh yeah, they're very, very impressionable. They pick up a lot of stuff. They're really, really attentive. And we got some great briefers out here doing a good job. A lot of people volunteering and really put a good effort for the kids out there.
Counselors used games, visual aids, and demonstrations to reinforce their lessons. This method went over well with campers eager to show off what they learned. Stephanie and Joanna had this to say on household safety.
If you see a skull with two bones over it, then don't drink it or eat it. Okay. And if it doesn't have a label on it, you should ask an adult or not don't mix it.
Cecile had some tips for boating enthusiasts.
There's a few things that you have to take with you to boat. One is a life jacket, extra paddle. If the motor runs out, you have to paddle to shore.
Taylor and Matt had one classic piece of advice.
And lock your door. Well, if it's your parents, don't.
With all these campers running around armed with their new knowledge, the rest of the summer promises to be safer for everyone. Senior Airman Julianne Messer, Air Force News.
And that's Newsbreak. Good evening. Spangdahlem got to surf the wave of the future last week when the Sabre Club hosted Technology Exposition 99. Senior Airman Julianne Messer bravely entered where other technophobes feared to tread.
If you stood in the Sabre Club ballroom that day, closed your eyes and listened, you might have thought you were at a sci-fi convention, or perhaps the Bill Gates family reunion. The language of the day was memory and megahertz, templates and toggles. With 35 vendors ranging from Micron, Novell, Xerox, and even a booth for the National Security Agency, this was more than the average computer fair. While the vendors don't actually sell anything at the Technology Expo, it is an opportunity for industry's creative forces to display their latest products and meet with the people who contract their services.
They see our name, they see our products on the contracts, they know us, and we're just here to show them our support.
Although most vendors are government contractors, one booth had a more direct tie-in to the Air Force mission.
We're basically stepping forward as part of a DI initiative to try to bring this technology forward into the user's hands. We believe by increasing the awareness and educating our customers, our military customers, on what's available as far as security products, we can help increase the OPSEC awareness.
Even though the expo was aimed at government window shoppers, there were plenty of techno hobbyists just as interested in the goings-on. Self-professed computer geek Master Sergeant Arthur Edgson, browsing for office equipment, also found a few things he wouldn't mind having for himself.
For myself at home, I saw a lot of things I'd like to buy, but I don't think my wife will let me.
This is the first time the Technology Expo has come to Spangdahlem. If you missed it, you're not completely out of luck. Expo organizers say it'll be back for another 2-week European tour next year. Senior Airman Julianne Messer, Air Force News.
Several people PCSing this year may notice a few changes to household goods shipment and damage claims. It's part of a military traffic management command test program aimed at re-engineering the PCS process.
One thing that makes this program different from the normal process is the direct interaction between the people PCSing and the moving company. Military members will coordinate pickup and delivery dates directly with the carrier and will have the option to deal with them to resolve any claims issues that may come about from the move.
Once I get here, it's just like the process that we have now. You still need to turn in your pink forms, the forms that you annotate all your damages on, except you have 90 days to turn your forms in under this program versus the 70 days under a normal move.
Right now, this test program only affects people moving from North Carolina, South Carolina, and Florida.
Once this test program goes through, if it's deemed to be successful, then it will be implemented either Air Force-wide or DoD-wide, and therefore there's the potential for everyone to fall under this program.
The program started last January. Visitors to Team Eifel usually notice the great paint job, the sharp-looking runways, and picture-perfect signs. Senior Airman J.C. Spiva paid a visit to the home of all this hard work, where he says a sad day is approaching the Eifel.
This is why we painted the red line.
His name is Horst Matcheles, the painter.
I run the paint shop. I got 10 people, and I run the paint shop for many, many years.
Well, the time has come to say goodbye to the great painter and one of the base's greatest legacies. Known by many as the runway, road, and parking lot painter, he takes his job very seriously. For him, it's an art. Mr. Matcheles started working on base at 18 and took over the Spangdahlem paint shop later in the 50s. He's been an integral part of the ever-changing 52nd Fighter Wing ever since.
First they say, hey, Horst, you look so young. Maybe say you have to be 18 first, and I was 19 already. They say, hey, you're still looking too young. Maybe they don't want you, But that's what my captain say, Captain Feller. I worked in labor service before,
See, we don't got this kind of signs too long yet, maybe 2 years. The base look pretty clean now. We hope we stay that way. Maybe this carpet we have to paint in the winter time, or even move the snow in the winter time,
Horst turns 65 in a few months. It's retirement time. Although he'd like to stick around with his work buddies, he says it's time to go home and spoil his wife. He will be greatly missed by all who knew him.
I think I get one like that when I get retired,
Horst Matcheles, he may be leaving, but his work will be around coloring Team Eifel for years to come. Senior Airman J.C. Spiva, Air Force News.
And that. Good evening. The new USAFE commander, General Greg Martin, visited Spangdahlem yesterday. He stopped by different units to see firsthand what the 52nd Fighter Wing brings to the USAFE mission. Eifel News caught up with him to find out what his impressions were of Team Eifel.
This is really my first visit to Spangdahlem. Now, I've flown approaches here, but I've never been on the base before. And I must tell you, after what I've learned about their performance in Operation Allied Force, and then what I've seen in terms of their long-term plans, and what I've seen in terms of the enthusiasm and hope that these people have here, I am inspired and proud to be here and be on their team.
General Martin took over as USAFE commander January 13th. Due to our early newscast not firing last night, here's another look at how base supply customers can now shop without ever leaving their office. Spangdahlem Supply Squadron is using an internet site to provide its customers with everything from pens to digital cameras.
It's called the Eifel Mall, and it gives supply customers the chance to shop at over 30 stores online using their Impact card. Since the base service stores have closed, Supply came up with the online idea to help customers find items they can't get there or on the economy.
Once they enter the Eifel Mall from their store, from their office, they'll be able to shop right from their work center. They can input their Impact card if they want to purchase something, and right there, just with the click of a mouse, they'll be able to get what they need. They won't even have to come and see us anymore.
Begin your journey to the Eifel Mall by typing in intranet.spangdahlem.af.mil on your browser. Then click on the Logistics Group icon. Go to Supply Squadron. Click on Customer Service, and you'll see the doorway to the mall.
It's just going to make it a lot easier for our customers and us to keep things running smoothly and to get the items that they can't get here. Since we're in Germany, they can just pretend they're in the States shopping for what they would shop in a regular mall.
People that can't access the mall from their office should stop by Supply Customer Service. They've set up a work center specifically designed to help people shop around the Eifel Mall. You've seen them out there. They're everywhere. Fad diets, lose 10 pounds in 5 days, and outrageous workout plans, and all you have to do is exercise every day for the next 5 years. Senior Airman Melissa Allen tells us about a plan that really does work: proper nutrition and exercise.
Walk This Way helps people make a commitment to their health and their future, and Spangdahlem has already started to see the results.
It's been phenomenal to hear internal medicine doctors call us up, which, you know, really makes us proud too, because they'll call us up and they'll say, Sergeant Beasley, what kind of program is this? I mean, I really want to hear about it, because so-and-so has been on blood pressure medicine for 9 or 10 years, some active duty people. We've had them on the diabetic medicine, and all of a sudden now they're off of it.
Sergeant Beasley and his wife Joan use the 90-day program to form relationships with the participants. They share ideas, give motivation and knowledge.
Why we came up with 90 days is because that's about when you start to change your lifestyle, and that's what's needed. Not a 30-day program, not a 40-day program. It's something you can do for a full 90 days so that your life starts to change.
Sergeant Beasley says one of the best ways to get to the gym is to have a workout partner. But once you're there, you might want to bring a good book and your favorite CD.
We want their lifestyle change, not just a little bit of now I'm going to exercise a little bit and some days I'm going to watch my food. We want them to be able to change for good, and it's such a blessing to see that.
They've created several seminars for the program, including healthy eating, strength training, and a cooking class. Senior Airman Melissa Allen, Air Force News.
Don't forget to catch the latest headlines Air Force-wide. Check out the Air Force online newspaper. You can find it at www.af.mil/newspaper. That's www.af.mil/newspaper. And finally, there will be no Eifel Nightly News tomorrow night due to training. There will also be no local afternoon radio show and no Eifel Radio News. We'll be back at our regular times Friday. And that's our report. For all of us at Eifel Nightly News, have a good evening. Good evening. The Expeditionary Aerospace Force is just now beginning to take shape. USAFE Commander General Greg Martin explains how the concept will affect the airmen of the 21st century.
Expeditionary Aerospace Force culture is not designed necessarily to reduce our commitments. It's designed to bring order and structure to the schedule, so that our people, although they may not serve in deployed locations or overseas for different total lengths of time, they will have a plan and a structure so that they can plan other activities, educational opportunities, family activities, leave, and PME around those deployments.
He says before, airmen were asked to do a lot, and then asked to do a lot with less notice. But the EAF will help give airmen and their families a bigger sense of stability in their lives. Volunteering, it's demanding, yet rewarding, and finding the place that's right for you is important. Spangdahlem Middle School's mentorship might be the one for you. It's been around for 5 years, and many people have helped out. Airman First Class Sonny Taneka shows us one of the people who made a difference in one student's life.
It's Tuesday afternoon, and Lieutenant McClaskey is just starting his second job, his volunteer job. Every week for 1 hour, it's just him and Lauren Whitworth.
He's a friend, but he's not too friendly. He's a mentor, a tutor, a guide, and he really, really cares about what she's learning. I told him one day when I watched him working with her, I said, you know, maybe you found yourself a new profession. Maybe you're going to wind up being a teacher instead of an officer.
The student that I'm working with has gone from very, very, very poor grades that everybody was really concerned about to all A's and B's with 1 C that we're working on still. And that's all been motivation of the student. The only thing that I've been helping with is just a presence.
And a presence that's noticed.
He's very good. I like him a lot. He's funny, he's nice, and he's helped me bring my grades up a lot. And I'm glad to have a mentor like him. He's really, really good.
The program is no longer just for students at risk. They now try to find a mentor for any student who asks for one.
You could know nothing about math or nothing about English, but just showing up is all these kids really care about. Just the fact that you're there. They know how to do the work. All these kids are smart. A lot of them just don't have the motivation or the drive.
Mentoring not only benefits the child, it also benefits the person who comes in as a mentor because it makes them grow also. So I think it's a two-way thing.
I don't remember. Oh, no.
You don't have the story?
No, she does.
And the benefits are showing on both sides, with Lauren's good grades and with Lieutenant McClaskey being named Mentor of the Month for both November and December of 1999. Airman First Class Sonny Taneka, Air Force News.
The mentoring program is always looking for people interested in helping out. Contact Spangdahlem Middle School or Mr. Church for more information. Well, who's one person that influenced your life? Staff Sergeant Chris Eder and Airman First Class Joseph Furman went to the Eifel West Commissary to find out in this week's Pass the Mic.
Hey, Sergeant Eder here with AFN. It seems that there seems to be a little competition with the fire department and seeing all those people. They just don't want to be on camera. It says that they have to buy ice cream or something like that, but I don't care about ice cream. I just want to know who had an influence on your life and why. So now we're just on search here in the commissary. It seems that 1 o'clock today is a great time to go shopping because there's no one here. So now we're going to try to find some more people from CE and see if they'll talk to us. So it's been brought to my attention that you may have to be at work right now. Is that true?
Yes, that is true.
Great. So then you have no problem doing Pass the Mic with us this week?
No, I don't.
Great. Well, this week's Pass the Mic is who had an influence on you and why. And you can say me, it's okay.
I think my parents had the biggest influence on me as a young child. They taught me several sorts of morale and so forth and so on.
So Mike, you can buy grapes by the pound, but I was wondering how much would just one grape cost me?
That's a good question. I have no idea, actually. None.
Would you say it's free?
I would say, yeah, it's free. For AFN, it's free.
You heard it. AFN gets free grapes at the commissary. For this week's edition of Pass the Mic, one grape fuller, Staff Sergeant Chris Eder, Air Force News.
That's our report. Good evening. When it comes to receiving health care overseas, some service members and their families may be a little confused on what care is available and how they can access it. General Greg Martin says as the new USAFE commander, he's making health care a priority.
I think the area that I've really got to pay a lot of attention to is our health care area. That's a very, very important benefit that our people have, and I think there's some confusion and concern right now as to how we are moving forward with the TRICARE implementation and all of that. So that's an area I will spend quite a bit of time on.
There are health benefits advisors at both TRICARE offices. There's also an informative TRICARE newsletter published monthly with answers to commonly asked questions. Security Forces is getting ready to sweep the base, looking for abandoned and non-operational vehicles. Airman First Class Joseph Furman tells us what that means for the owners of those vehicles.
Money. If you have a non-operational vehicle, you could find yourself paying an impound fee.
Impounded vehicles are moved to the Security Forces impound lot, which, when it moves to the Security Forces impound lot, the owners are contacted and a report will be forwarded to the commander, and the owners have to pay a $100 towing and storage fee.
The security forces will be searching for vehicles that look uncared for.
Abandoned vehicles are identified by vehicles without plates, vehicles with flat tires, they look unsightly, or they look like they haven't been moved in a long period of time.
If you have a vehicle that's not abandoned but just isn't running, you can declare it non-operational and move it to the Security Forces non-operational parking lot. After you declare a vehicle non-op, you will have 5 duty days to arrange to move it to the lot. Call the Security Forces to arrange a time to move your vehicle. Airman First Class Joseph Furman, Air Force News.
Team Eifel's awards banquet is set for Saturday, February 12th at Spangdahlem Skeleton Memorial Fitness Center. This year promises more than just an awards presentation, but also a chance to let loose for an evening.
It's a wonderful chance for the members of this wing to get together, to have a good time, enjoy the entertainment, the presentations that are going to be done, and to just have a great time as a team.
If you like to socialize, cocktails begin at 6 in the evening with the dinner bell at 7. The dress is semi-formal or mess dress. For tickets to the event, contact your unit first sergeant by close of business Friday. Well, it's a little-known fact that the commissary was originally only open to married people. A lot has changed since those days. Staff Sergeant Chris Etter tells us the most recent change makes shopping at the commissary a family affair.
Just over a month ago, Eifel Commissary stopped checking ID cards as you entered. The checkers now ask for them before you purchase your groceries. Prior to the change, only ID card holders were allowed in the commissaries. Now you can bring your mom or grandma to see what's been a big secret for so many years. The director of Eifel Commissary says the change makes life a little easier for families.
It was done with the military members in mind, saying, you know, here's a better way to serve you and allow folks that you're associated with to come see where you shop and what the commissaries are all about.
In the past, problems associated with black marketing prevented non-ID card holders from entering the commissary. Mr. Mitchell went on to say, even with the increased traffic in the commissary, they're not really concerned with black marketing.
Overseas, that's always been a problem, and the reason it is because some of the items that are available in U.S. commissaries are not available on the local economy, or they're available on the local economy at a higher price. I don't see that as a problem in Germany.
Mr. Mitchell says if black marketing becomes a problem in the future, the local commander can change the policy. So, what happened to the lady who used to check ID cards at the Bitburg commissary?
Tanya still goes up, does the coupons in the morning, and then she works around the store. She still deals with customers, but she goes back to our salvage and markdown area, and she writes those items up and deals with that. And so she's still viably employed.
Do you miss your old job?
Yeah, I miss it.
Mr. Mitchell hopes the change will encourage more people to shop at the commissary and adds not to worry. Tanya will still clip coupons for you. Staff Sergeant Chris Etter, Air Force News.
And finally, with the functional management inspection in full swing, remember Team Eifel has some outstanding and innovative programs in place. Be sure to strut your stuff when the inspectors visit your work center. And that's our report. For all of us at Eifel Nightly News, have a good evening. Good evening. A new base housing policy aimed at people E1 through E4 takes effect March 1st. The change is a major quality of life initiative for both married and single airmen. Staff Sergeant Chris Etter has the story.
The new policy will affect all E1s through E4s, single, married, accompanied, or not. Those airmen already living off base will not be affected. Spangdahlem's director of housing says occupancy rates below 90% and a huge investment already made to provide military housing led to the change. She adds, with the availability and closeness of base services like child care facilities, the commissary, and chapel, living in family housing is going to be a good move.
Well, we felt that the E1s to E4s, like I said, if they're young families and maybe the spouse has never been overseas and this is her first time coming to an area like this. So what better place to be is on base, which would be a more stable environment.
Ms. Lopez says there are plenty of renovated 2- and 3-bedroom units available for the newly arriving airmen and families. Estella Tuttle resides in one of the newly renovated units and enjoys her living conditions.
I like the 110 and 220 voltage in the house. I like the convenience of having my washer and dryer in the apartment. I like the overhead lighting, which is not very common in some of the homes here. I like the view that we have. We have a playground right behind us. In front of us, we have a gazebo. We had a summer picnic this summer. It was our first summer here, so all the occupants got together and we decided to have a little barbecue in the gazebo. Very nice.
For single E1s through E4s, Spangdahlem offers new 1+1 dorms that feature privacy with your own room, plus a shared kitchen and bathroom. A new 108-room dorm is expected to open this summer. Staff Sergeant Chris Etter, Air Force News.
The goal for the 52nd Fighter Wing is to have all of the family housing on Spangdahlem and Bitburg renovated by 2008. February is Information Assurance Month, and as Airman First Class Joseph Furman explains, there are many ways for you and your unit to get involved.
Information assurance may sound like something that only concerns a few people. That's not the case. IA Month raises awareness of the dangers of being loose with operational information.
For Information Assurance Month, what we'd like to do is to get the word out to the entire base that the equipment that they're using, to include the telephone, is unsecure. You're not at home or the internet cafe where what you're doing doesn't really have an impact. Whatever you do on these computers here has an impact on the whole wing, USAFE, and even the Department of Defense, because they all are interconnected.
Each week will focus on a different part of information assurance. The first week will recognize unit computer monitors, highlighting the outstanding work they do. The second week, full dimension of assurance, focuses on the computer systems, basically the hardware. The third week keys in on network citizenship, highlighting individual responsibilities using government computers. Week 4 is named Guardian of the Fifth Dimension and broadens information assurance to wireless communications and telephones. February 29th kicks off Y2K Victory Week, celebrating the prevention of the year 2000 and leap year computer bugs. In conjunction with Information Assurance Month, the IA office is holding a contest with prizes being awarded each week and a grand prize of a simulator ride. All you have to do to enter is fill out 2 word puzzles on Spangdahlem's homepage.
Okay, if you go to the intranet site and you arrow down to the bottom left corner, you'll see Information Assurance Month, Information Assurance Awareness Month. Double click on the icon and you come to the Information Assurance Awareness Month page. You have 2 little icons. One is Word Find. You double click on that, open it, and it'll be a Word document. Print it out and highlight the answers. Then you go to the quiz, which would be the PowerPoint presentation. You open it, print it out, and you fill out the answers. Send them all both to Building 106, and we'll enter you in our contest.
Completed puzzles must be turned in to the Information Assurance Office by February 23rd. Airman First Class Joseph Furman, Air Force News.
And finally, with the functional inspection halfway over, here's a quick tip. Every inspector is looking for safety violations, and it's up to you to make sure they don't find any. Ensure everyone is in compliance with all technical orders and instructions. Make sure that safety equipment, reflective belts, and ear protectors are serviceable and used when required. And that's our report. Good evening. Finding good childcare has long been an issue for military parents. Since Spangdalem's Child Development Center hasn't had much room for children under 3, that task was even more difficult. Staff Sergeant Chris Etter tells us how recent renovations to the CDC has increased space and taken parents off the waiting list.
All the kids are sleeping now, and when they wake up, they may not notice the changes made to the CDC. Kids sleeping or not need space and a healthy environment with bright colors. The Eifel East CDC has been working hard to ensure it had all of those key ingredients. The director says a project to increase space has led to a facelift for the whole facility and even opened up 10 valuable slots.
It gave us an opportunity with CE working very closely with us. They were able to schedule times to come in. We shifted each room down, and it allowed the painting of this entire facility without disrupting childcare for the community.
This room leader works with toddlers from 6 to 12 months old. She appreciates all the hard work too.
It will be more home-like, and the kids will enjoy being here. And along with us, we'll enjoy being here. We want to come to work because it's like a home-like environment.
Barbara Davis has brought her daughter to the CDC since the beginning of the year and says the home-like environment is good, but renovations aren't the only thing to consider.
It's really good, and I like the caregivers that pay so much attention to my child and are very cooperative with letting me come to be with her during the day on my lunch break. That's the best. Always the people are what makes any child care center the best.
The CDC plans more renovations, which will open up 7 more slots for 2-year-olds. Staff Sergeant Chris Etter, Air Force News.
Now with the latest headlines Air Force-wide, here's Airman First Class Joseph Furman with this week's Air Force Online News.
In this edition, Air Force leaders have expanded the Aviation Continuation Pay Program for fiscal year 2000. Read how defense officials are taking a look at concerns voiced about the basic allowance for housing rate adjustments. Air Force officials held a retention summit. They hope to develop a game plan to head off falling retention rates. Major changes are coming to quality in the Air Force. Quality will be applied to the mission through a new approach, making it more mission-friendly. Deployment plans are announced for the F-22 Raptor and the Global Hawk unmanned aerial vehicle. And in the commentary section, read about information assurance in the new millennium.
You can find the online newspaper at www.af.mil/newspaper. That's www.af.mil/newspaper. Changes to DOD's regulations are causing school faculties to keep a closer watch on students who miss school. Airman First Class Adam Winston tells us what parents and students need to know when returning to school.
When it comes to missing school, all absences are unexcused until the parent notifies administration. Excusing students from missing class can be as simple as picking up the phone.
If a student is absent for any reason, we need a note or a phone call from a parent when either the same day that the student is absent or upon return of the student, so we know whether they're to make up the work or not to make up the work.
If your child incurs 2 unexcused absences in a row, the school will contact you by phone or letter. It's important to report your child's missed classes as soon as possible, because if more absences occur, the student may face disciplinary action. If you have any questions about absentee policies, be sure to contact your child's school. Airman First Class Adam Winston, Air Force News.
The functional management inspection is almost over, but you shouldn't let your guard down yet. Control people around you during your inspection. Don't let interruptions affect you or the inspectors. Make sure everyone in your work area is briefed on the standards expected. Also, all program managers need to be available for the inspector. Don't make them wait. And that's our report. For all of us at Eifel Nightly News, have a good evening.
Eifel Clubs keeps you entertained. Come and play Spangdalem's very own Oldie Wed Newlywed game February 11th. Call Heidi at 452-7494 to sign up. And the moment you've all been waiting for, the grand opening of Club 2012 at Eifel West, is February 11th. There'll be a live DJ and free drinks and appetizers for the occasion. And February 16th, enjoy the Mongolian barbecue from 5:30 to 8 at the Spang Club. And that's the club scene.
Good evening. If you have an idea that would improve the way you do your job, Senior Airman J.C. Spiva says there's an easy way to take that idea, submit it, and earn a little extra cash.
It's called an Air Force Technical Order Form 22, and it's the easiest way to have your idea heard at the highest level.
What you think is wrong with it and why you want it changed or what you recommend the change to be, you and your boss's name and signature, and that's about it as far as you're concerned. You'll route it to the appropriate people and they'll direct it off base. These are so easy to do now, some of them are even sent off electronically. So instead of waiting for weeks for it to get through the mail, they can actually have it in just a couple of seconds.
You think of how many corrections need to be made in some of the TOs out there. And you know it, and you keep doing the job anyway. You do it the right way, but still, I guess you'd be deviating from the TO if you're not doing exactly what it says, even though it's totally impossible to do what it says. But submit the 22 and you can get $200 just like that.
You can find the AFTO Form 22 on FormFlow and send it to 52ndLSS.LGQA@spangdahlem.af.mil. It's that easy.
It's definitely an EPR bullet, and it helps your job, it helps the Air Force, and it's always nice to get a little extra money and for doing just one little form.
So if you do have a good idea that will improve the way you do your job, get it out in the open. Fill out an Air Force Technical Order Form 22. Senior Airman J.C. Spiva, Air Force News.
Now with a preview of tomorrow's Eifel Times, here's Airman First Class Joseph Furman.
In this week's edition, the 52nd Fighter Wing will honor its top performers for 99 during a formal banquet February 12th. Master Sergeant Brian Hibbard highlights the evening's event and introduces us to Spangdahlem's best of the best at the group level for the year. The Air Force Personnel Center announces the home basing survey results. See if the majority of people like or dislike the home base concept. And in sports action, the Eifel Shark swim team devours the competition at the Hohenfels Divisionals.
Pick up your copy of the Times at the BX Commissary and Post Office. The long-awaited official grand opening for Eifel West's new consolidated club is February 11th. Services is opening the club so people in the Bitburg housing area could meet and have fun. Families will find a variety of things to do in the newly renovated building at Bitburg's French Caserne. The club offers a video game room, slot room, and bar, including live entertainment.
This would be a good family-oriented place where you bring the kids, you know, and relax, sit back, let them go to the game room, go to the bar. We have the slot machines here, so this is a family-oriented club and a family-oriented restaurant.
You can get a sneak peek of the new facility when JR's Grill opens next Monday. It features a southwestern menu. Patrons at JR's don't have to be club members, and Mr. Myrick says customers won't have to pay a surcharge. Club 2012 also plans to host local bands and comedy shows in the future. In the meantime, you don't need to go to cities like Oberhausen or Cologne to catch a concert or a show because the Services Squadron is bringing big-name performers into its clubs. Here's a look at Tuesday night's concert.
Are y'all ready for 2 Live Crew?
Over 100 people came to Spangdahlem Saber Club to get down with rap group 2 Live Crew. Rapper Chris Wongwon, aka the Fresh Kid Ice, a former airman himself, says for him it's all about freedom of expression.
Back in the 80s, the lyrics were like kind of wild, but now the lyrics, everybody can relate to them, so. And it's expression, so it's all good.
Saber Club manager Angela Archambault says Services is excited about bringing big acts like 2 Live Crew to the base.
I'm glad that we're able to provide quality entertainment and get some big names into Spangdahlem. I think it's about time to start servicing our members.
2 Live Crew is visiting different Army clubs throughout Germany. Spangdahlem was their only stop at an air base. The Services Squadron's next big event is a comedy show February 19th. If you don't have a club card yet, you can get one March 1st in a membership drive. And that's our report. For all of us at Eifel Nightly News, have a good evening. Good evening. Security forces received a call today when an alert airman noticed a suspicious package delivered to him at the post office.
It was textbook perfect. I'll tell you what, we were on scene in minutes, had the area sealed off and the cordon up. The entire team from the hospital, EOD, cops to command post, fire department. It just all clicked like it's supposed to.
Investigation revealed the package was harmless, but Colonel Asher says it's constant vigilance that keeps people safe. The Air Force has done away with required random monthly weigh-ins. However, commanders can still request a weigh-in if they feel someone is over their max weight. Units will now be required to conduct yearly weigh-ins during their annual fitness testing. We sent Airman First Class Joseph Furman to the Spangdahlem thrift shop to find out what they have to offer. But while he was there, he found something else. A customer so excited about the thrift shop, he took the mic and had a field day. Here's Captain Andrew Brinkman with his report. By the way, Airman Furman was the cameraman.
Good evening. I'm Captain Andrew Brinkman from the 52nd Fighter Wing, and I'd like to take you on a tour of the Penny Lane thrift shop at Spangdahlem Air Base, Germany. Come, join me, won't you? With Valentine's Day fast approaching, all you husbands out there, nothing says love more than the 22-piece heart print coffee set. I believe that was Citizen Kane's beloved childhood friend Rosebud, and here it is for sale at the Penny Lane thrift shop. Yeah. For all you girls out there, prom season is just around the corner. So if you want to look like Britney Spears, this dress is for you. And guys, nothing says love more than buying your special gal one of these dresses.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're here now in the nerve center of the Penny Lane thrift shop, the main administrative office, here to speak to the manager, Ms. Ela Payne. Ms. Payne, who runs the Penny Lane thrift shop?
The Penny Lane Thrift Shop is headed by the Spangdahlem Spouses Enlisted Members Club. We're a nonprofit organization.
How can people sell their items from home here at the thrift shop?
People can bring in their unwanted treasures here to sell for a minimal cost. At the end of the month, they will receive a check for their items that have sold. We also encourage donations to be brought in. That, along with the sales of the consigners, goes straight back out to the community. So the community also benefits from the SSCMC thrift shop.
And here at this table in the office, Ms. Payne is working with a consignor, bringing in some of the items from her home, ticketing the items, placing them on the shelves for eventual sale. Who can be a consignor? Well, all of us can be consigners. We just bring our items in here to the thrift shop from our homes, place the price that we'd like to receive, the items go on the shelves. If someone buys it, we get the money at the end of the month. And as you can see, we even have a place for the kids to play. No.
I just need you to try it.
I'm Captain Andrew Brinkman for AFN News.
Now here's Senior Airman Dan Ballas with this week's Pass the Mic.
When you were a kid, you probably had a favorite superhero and wished that you had a superpower of your own. Today's question is, if you could have any superpower you wanted, what would it be and why?
It would be X-ray vision, because X-ray vision kicks butt.
Authority. There you go, authority.
Are large pectoral muscles a superpower?
I think I have the power of assignment preference.
If I had authority as a superpower, you know what? I don't know what I would do.
I would have the ability to fly because it's much cheaper and I don't have to deal with rude flight attendants.
The power to disappear.
You're not so tough, Batman.
I'd fly. Yeah. I would want to be able to read people's minds.
On a light note, I'd want to bring God's team back, Dallas Cowboys, to the Super Bowl.
See into the future.
I would want to know what people are thinking.
Maybe the ability to make facial hair disappear at will. That way I don't have to shave anymore.
I guess to have the ability to fly, just to be free.
Hey, if you could have any superpower in the world, what would it be and why? Okay then. Thanks.
The only superpower I really want is the ability to do my own taxes. Reporting for Pass the Mic, I'm Senior Airman Dan Bellis, Air Force News.
And that's our report.
Good evening. The top man in the Air Force Materiel Command, General George Babbitt, made his way through the base Friday for a career maintenance MAGCOM day. He made several stops, including the phase docks, 606th Air Control Squadron, propulsions, supply, and transportation. The general was here to assess the overall health of the fleet and find out how effectively the bases supplied support equipment to get the mission done. General Babbitt is also responsible to ensure that our fighters are getting what they need from depot maintenance. The general left Spangdahlem yesterday en route to Incirlik Air Base, Turkey. If you stood outdoors Friday afternoon and listened closely, you might have been able to hear a collective sigh of relief arising from Team Eifel as last week's functional management inspection drew to a close. Staff Sergeant Julianne Messer tells us how the 606th Air Control Squadron prepared for their part of the 4-day analysis.
When we go to war, they're right out in front. They're charged with gaining and maintaining control of the airspace over the battlefield. The nature of their mission allows no room for error, so the men and women of the 606th Air Control Squadron were already working under a strict adherence to regulations. Still, they took no chances with this latest inspection, preparing well in advance.
I told my wife back in October, pretend I'm deployed, because I spent an awful lot of time here at work, along with everyone else. And we proved that we were doing our job last summer. We went, we did our job, we came back, did a great job. But we had to get every program polished, everything, so we could prove that we do what we say we do.
This was a compliance inspection, so the focus was on procedures as well as adherence to and maintenance of the technical data. The 606's Chief of Operations and Scheduling, First Lieutenant Kathy Hupsher, confident in her squadron's performance, has a few tips for inspection success.
I would say take out your inspection guide or your reg that you should be following for your shop and make sure you're following it. Go down line by line and make sure you're doing everything on it. If you are, they can't really find anything wrong with you.
Both Lieutenant Hupsher and Sergeant Schmidt praise the hard effort put forth by their troops and say it will make things go that much smoother for the next inspection. Staff Sergeant Julianne Messer, Air Force News.
The 606th and the rest of the base will find out the final results at the inspection outbrief Wednesday morning at 11. There are designated tickets at the Skyline Theater through unit commanders, and overflow seating is available at the Skelton Memorial Fitness Center for anyone who'd like to attend. Valentine's Day. It's the busiest day of the year for florists. As Airman First Class Sonny Taneka reports, although it only lasts one day for everyone else, the people at the Eifel East Flower Shop started preparing months ago.
There are many legends and myths associated with Valentine's Day. However, one thing's known for sure, it's a day to send flowers to loved ones. According to one of the hottest Valentine stops, that custom seems to be growing strong here at Spangdahlem.
Let me just put it this way. One year I had over 300 orders just for the day, and that's people ordering, not people coming in just picking up stuff.
They've been getting ready for months now, ordering hundreds of yards of ribbon and gift baskets. All this to ensure customers have plenty to choose from.
We're always busy. There's always something to do in here because we make everything up pretty much. Everything that's on the walls, on the floor, even a lot of the plant arrangements we do ourselves.
So why do all of this work?
It's a cheerful thing. I guess it's a day to do something for your loved one without it having to be a birthday or a holiday or, you know, just to say how much, to show them how much you really appreciate them or love them.
You can pick up pre-made items on Saturday, but you must order gifts by Thursday for deliveries. And remember, singing is not included.
We do not sing when we deliver. I think if people heard us singing, we'd lose business.
Airman First Class Sonny Taneka, Air Force News.
Voting rules can be confusing enough when you're stateside, but they become a puzzle when you're stationed overseas. To help clear things up, the Federal Voting Assistance Program now offers a website for people covered under the Uniformed and Overseas Absentee Voting Act of 1986. The site gives important information about how to ensure you have the correct state as your legal residence for voting purposes and lists several links to state election sites. Click on www.fvap.ncr.gov. That's www.fvap.ncr.gov. And that's our report. Good evening. Privatized housing and TRICARE are two of the top concerns addressed in President Clinton's proposed defense budget. In the fiscal 2001 budget, the president has asked Congress for $291 billion in defense spending. That's an increase of $13.5 billion over the actual budget that Congress authorized for 2000. The 2001 budget request is targeting off-base housing and medical care. The Department of Defense wants to cut 1/4 of out-of-pocket costs by next year and completely stop it by 2005. DoD also wants to eliminate co-pays for service members using civilian facilities and provide TRICARE Prime for family members in remote areas. The 52nd Services Squadron has teamed up with civil engineering to create a new dining facility on the flight line. Senior Airman Melissa Allen has the story.
Right next to the taxiway, Building 160 sits, a hollow shell of its former self. Renovations began last month to make lunch more convenient for Flightline workers. Designing the new dining room and kitchen has been a team effort from the very beginning.
We got involved with CE Sabre right from the get-go because we have to run that up through our channels and services through our MAGCOM, to make sure we get the design right and we haven't missed anything, making sure all the equipment is in place and specifications and things of that nature.
Services was very involved in the design. They helped us lay out what type of equipment they would like, where they wanted everything, and we spent an entire day with a contractor and services and myself and contracting, and we laid out every single piece of equipment for the actual physical kitchen where they would cook the food.
The new dining facility will open this summer, but for now there's only one thing it lacks. The Services Squadron will hold a contest to name their latest creation this spring. Senior Airman Melissa Allen, Air Force News.
You've seen them at almost every ceremony on base, wearing their distinctive dress uniforms with all the trim right down to the white gloves. They're the Spangdahlem Honor Guard. Senior Airman Dan Bellis caught up with them at practice and brings us a closer look.
Present arms.
You see the Honor Guard in their fancy uniforms so often, you may not be able to picture them in BDUs. But they are airmen with regular Air Force jobs. Airmen with a special image to uphold.
We want them to see someone that's elite, that's not your normal everyday Air Force person. We want them to see someone that's sharp and dedicated. And most of all, we want them to be impressed so that they want to come out and be a part of the Honor Guard. And if nothing else, to promote the fact that the Honor Guard is here on base and that we do these things and we do shine.
Order, arms.
There are perks that come with being a part of this dynamic team. Members are eligible for an achievement medal after 1 year on the Guard. They also travel to Belgium, Luxembourg, and even France to perform at various ceremonies. They even have their own Honor Guard coin. But there's more to it than fringe benefits.
I don't think you should join unless you really want to take an active role. Don't join for an EPR bullet. Don't join for BAS. Join because you care about the Honor Guard, you care about your flag, you care about your base, and you want to go out there and you want to give the best that you can to the base.
It's actually fun. It's a lot of work. At first it seems like the fun doesn't start right then, but once you get to know all the drills, you're out of the training element, you learn how to use the rifle, it's really a lot of fun. We have a lot of people with nice attitudes who like to come out and joke around. We throw a lot of play into our seriousness when we do practice hard.
Order, arms.
The Honor Guard maintains its elite status with strict eligibility requirements. Members must have an outstanding personnel record, recommendations from their first sergeant and commander, and have at least 1 year left on station. Senior Airman Dan Bellis.
Present arms.
Air Force News.
To find out more about the Honor Guard, call 452-6783. That number again, 452-6783. And a last-minute reminder, the Eifel East Fitness Center closes at 2 p.m. February 11th, and it will be closed all day February 12th. This is due to the upcoming awards ceremony. If you're interested in attending Saturday night's awards ceremony, tickets are still available. Just contact your first sergeant. And that's our report. For all of us at Eifel Nightly News, have a good evening. Good evening. The Air Force has its core values: integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. But how often do you meet someone that has all of them and is humble to boot? Staff Sergeant Chris Etter has the story on one such person here at Spangdahlem.
He's come a long way since his first published article to become a USAFE award winner. It only took 7 years, 4 bases, and some painful assignments like play-by-play chess tournaments and 3-legged dog races. His name? Staff Sergeant Brian Pertell.
Some of the stories I wrote at the beginning, I overdid it and just had these rambling dissertations of news and stuff that I think people were bored after the first 2 sentences. And I look back at these things and they are just some of the worst stories ever written by mankind in general, I guess.
One of the awards Sergeant Pertell won in USAFE's media contest is Best Commentary. In the article, he puts a little sports spin on workplace conduct, suggesting that men act differently when not on the playing field.
Why not show that emotion in the office? You know, if I was to go in the commissary and I saw a can of peas on sale, I would be whooping it up, having a great time.
Sergeant Pertell has a passion for writing about sports, but he admits he's not good at playing most of them. That doesn't stop him from having fun trying. He relates past experiences when writing about sports, a winning combination which earned him USAFE's Best Sports article. He says being on the paper is what it's all about for public affairs journeyman, and he's been the editor on the paper for the majority of his career. So, how does a seasoned editor trained in verb tenses and sentence structure pull down the USAFE standalone photo?
The one photo I won for, I think, was just a fluke. I happened to shoot about 100 shots, and I think with the odds, anybody could get a good photo. And I just proved that point.
It truly has been a great year for Sergeant Pertell. Not only has he won 3 USAFE awards, he's also been selected to attend officer training school.
It's been a pretty good year. It has been. I think I've had more than my fair share of awards this year, but I think it's making up for some pretty rough years I've had in the Air Force. So.
Sergeant Pertell credits his success as an editor to the support he receives from the Eifel community. Staff Sergeant Chris Etter, Air Force News.
Sergeant Pertell isn't the only award winner in the Pertell home. His wife April was just named Junior Civilian of the Year for the 52nd Med Group. With the latest news Air Force-wide, here's Senior Airman Joseph Furman with this week's online news.
In this edition, despite concerns among some in and out of the military, there have been only a minimal number of reactions reported to the anthrax vaccine. The Air Force shows its appreciation a second time for one special operations helicopter pilot with the Distinguished Flying Cross. The Air Force creates the Developing Aerospace Leaders Program, and in the commentary section, Defense Secretary William Cohen talks about what it will take to protect our military in the new century.
Just click on to www.af.mil/newspaper. That's www.af.mil/newspaper to get the latest news. Although we're technically still in the middle of winter, it's not too early to start planning for those warm weather activities. Now is the time to get your child signed up for the upcoming Little League season. Airman First Class Adam Winston tells parents what they need to know to get their child behind the plate.
It's time to start oiling up that mitt because Little League season is almost here. It's closer than you think. Registration is in just a few days. Officials expect high interest, so parents shouldn't hesitate in signing up their players.
From what I understand, it's one of the largest sports with the greatest turnout. So apparently the folks in the Eifel community enjoy the sport of baseball, and it's just a matter of us getting the information out to them soon enough to let them know, hey, it's time to register and get the ball rolling.
Little League offers something for all the kids: baseball, softball, or t-ball for the little ones. It's open to boys and girls aged 5 through 18. Although a desire to play is important, players can get the rest of their requirements at registration. Sign-up runs from February 11th through the 25th at Eifel East Building 124 and at Eifel West Building 58. Airman First Class Adam Winston, Air Force News.
The Black History Month Committee, in conjunction with the Health and Wellness Center, will offer screenings February 24th to address health issues relevant to the African American community. According to Master Sergeant Daniel Beasley, the NCOIC of the Hawk, you can get cholesterol and blood pressure screenings and nutrition profiles, all of which give important benchmarks for total health. You must pre-register by February 22nd. And that's our report. For all of us at Eifel Nightly News, have a great evening. Good evening. The functional inspection is over, and after taking a close look at the base's programs, the inspectors held an out briefing yesterday. We sent Senior Airman Joseph Furman to get some details.
In the States, they're called unit compliance inspections, but in USAFE, they're called functional inspections. All bases in the Air Force go through one every 3 years. According to the team chief, the inspector's job is to make sure each unit is in compliance with Air Force directives, federal law, congressional mandates, safety policies, and host nation requirements.
As in any inspection, I think there are areas that the wing is doing very, very well. Across the board, I think I can say that the wing has very motivated people who are working very, very hard to accomplish the mission.
Over 140 inspectors comb the base with one goal in mind.
If we can identify those issues that are just making life harder than it should be for the average airman out on the line there, then we need to identify those. I mean, that's one of the charters of the IG is to identify those efficiencies or lack of efficiency and try to get to the root cause of it. Superficially, we can identify problems, but to get to the root cause and then really apply some good solutions to it sometimes takes a little bit of time and study and thought.
The 2.5-week inspection also included stops at several geographically separated units. Once the inspection was complete, the team wrote the final report and prepared for the out brief.
I told the IG team in their in briefing that the standard here in the 52nd Fighter Wing is excellence, and you all proved it. Way to go.
Although the inspection is complete, that doesn't mean it's the end. Units must now take the results and use them to address noted discrepancies and improve their programs so they can get ready for the next inspection. Senior Airman Joseph Furman, Air Force News.
We aren't able to go into the specifics on the results given at the briefing yesterday, but we can say that the general was so pleased he declared February 18th a Contingency Appreciation Day, making it a 4-day weekend. And you can get more details on the inspection in tomorrow's Eifel Times. Here's Staff Sergeant Sandra Brown with the other headlines.
In this edition, the newest enlisted quarterly assignment listing arrives at the Military Personnel Flight and on the Air Force Personnel Center's webpage next Tuesday. Do you have a special talent? Well, find out how you can showcase it this month. Iris Reif tells how Holcomb Castle makes a nice day trip. And since Valentine's Day is right around the corner, read about the romantic side of some of Eifel's officers. And in the commentary section, 52nd Fighter Wing Commander Brigadier General Scott Van Cleef congratulates Team Eifel.
Pick up your copy at the Post Office, BX, and Commissary. In 1870, Congress passed the 15th Amendment, which limited voting rights based on race. And it wasn't until the passage of the 19th Amendment in 1920 that women were allowed to vote. A lot has changed since then. Today, the Uniformed and Overseas Citizens Absentee Voting Act protects the right to vote for service members and their families who are away from their voting residence during an election year. There is a program on base that can help you to make your mark on this year's ballot.
The Voting Assistance Program is an ongoing program. You know, it's never ending. It's here to assist Air Force personnel and our dependents, of course, to register and vote at either the polls or in the elections by absentee ballot. And the ballot serves as a twofold purpose. You can register and do an absentee ballot all on the same form, which is really great because there's so many young people here that are not registered to vote, but they can do it, you know, while stationed overseas.
The Wing's goal for this year's election is 100% contact by its voting representatives. Captain Moore encourages people to vote and let their voice be heard.
People stand on the sideline and say, oh, my vote doesn't count. One vote's not going to make a difference. But in reality, if we all pulled our opinions together, we really could make a difference in this country.
For more information on how to vote on an absentee ballot, contact your unit voting representative or visit the webpage at www.fvap.ncr.gov. That's www.fvap.ncr.gov. And finally, the prayer luncheon scheduled for February 18th has been canceled because of the 4-day weekend. The luncheon will be rescheduled for a future date. Be sure to stay tuned to AFN Eifel and we'll give you the new date. The chapel asked those who already purchased a ticket to wait until the new date has been announced to determine whether or not you'll be able to attend or need a refund. And that's our report.